Hey guys, it's Jaro from Ezreal Mains here, and I just wanted to make a quick video to explain how to use my damage simulator for Ezreal. So as you probably found out by now, I've created a damage simulator for Ezreal. Basically, the goal of it is you can just put in a bunch of different things and see how your damage will output. It's kind of like loading in the practice tool and spamming all your buttons on a dummy and kind of seeing what comes out. The only difference is you can't get like DPS as you hit things. You can't see how your passive stacking as you attack things increases things, but I'll show you what you can do, and it's a lot. So I'll try to speed this up. Basically, what you can do is you can select your level at any point in the game, right? Let's say you're level 9. You can see your base stats change when you do that. Undo, redo. As well as your abilities. You can change the ranks of them, and that'll change your damage, which I'll show you in a minute. So let's make Q5 and move on. You can also change your runes. So as default, because I made it, right, I get to pick the runes. These are the default runes. But you can pick everything, right? You can pick Dark Harvest. It'll probably be easier if I explain to you where the damage is. That's what this is right here. And I don't want to go into too much detail right now, but when you change things, like if you change to having Dark Harvest, it'll show your Dark Harvest damage. Or if you change to Conqueror, you can have that change your damage, and I'll show you that in a minute. But first, I want to show you that these runes also affect a couple other things. For example, your adaptive type. It'll change whether or not you have AD or AP from your runes, including from Conqueror. It'll also change if you have... Where is it? If you have Gathering Storm, let's just say you're allowed to have 3 secondary runes, and you change the time, you can see your adaptive damage go up. And if we change it to AP, you can see your AP go up. So that's a pretty little cool thing you can do. Of course, you can only have 2 of these. So if you do that, try to make one of these empty for a realistic output. Okay, so you can change your passive too, right? You can have up to 5 stacks of your passive. That'll change your attack speed accordingly. And I want to mention real quick, all the things I'm changing, you can see are these like maroon purplish color. It'll tell you kind of briefly what it does. Okay, so you can change your attack speed. Over here, you can change your current HP and your current mana. This affects some things, like your current HP will affect like last stand damage. Current mana will affect how much mana you're regenning from Mana Flow Band, right? And I can show you that. If we go over here and we select... Where's Mana Flow Band? So you can see your mana regen here. If we change your mana to 0, or that, because your mana regen increase from mana flow depends on your missing mana. So you can see that affects things there. Let's put this back to boots. And yeah, so here you can change what items you have. This is probably the most important part to you, right? So like ideally in a game you might have Essence Reaver or Trinity Force. You'll have your Mer mana. You'll maybe have Cyrilda's. And that changes your damage down here. And you can see if you have something, a damage type that correlates to your item that deals damage, it'll probably pop up down here and tell you how much damage that'll do when it's procced. So here, when you activate Spellblade, most likely on Q, you'll deal an extra 128 damage. Or here, Shock from your mana on your autos will do an extra 21, and on your abilities an extra 50. If your items have some sort of scaling or some kind of condition, you can change some of them here. So, for example, Manamune, if it's not stacked yet, it depends on your stacks, how much AD you have. You'd say you're halfway there, you get an extra 5 AD, which I'm just now realizing that's actually pretty small. You can go on forever, by the way, but I wouldn't recommend that because it's not worth it. I just didn't want to make an individual drop down for 359 numbers. So yeah, you can do that. You can see I have Conqueror selected. We can increase the stacks we have of that and see how much it affects your damage, right? Look at that. And something you should know is that if you don't have the appropriate thing equipped, let's say you want to see how much Eyeball Collection will give you, but you don't have Eyeball Collection equipped, if you change this to 10, nothing happens. But if you add Eyeball Collection here, then you could see that your damage goes up, your AD is going up here. Right, so that's important to look out for. We have that for Overgrowth, Grasp, Darkseal or Medjai's, your Legend stacks, which I think at the moment only works for Alacrity. Dark Harvest stacks, your Hunter stacks, whichever rune you have. Rod of Ages, Jack Show, Gargoyle, Bloodletters from Arena, Black Cleaver, Lethal Tempo, Ravenous Hydra, and also Trinity Force, your threefold strike, which will increase your base AD, which will also increase your Spellblade, in this case by a little over 20. Now, there's other things here too, like if you have Press the Attack, and you hit PTA active, you can see how much bonus damage everything would deal if PTA is active. If you had Radiant Virtue, right, we could do that. You can see that it increases your HP if it's active. Grievous Wounds, it doesn't do anything at the moment. Support item complete, this relates to if you have Watchful Wardstone. I think we need Vigilant Wardstone. Oh, you probably need a support item too, right? So let's do, like, Spell Thieves. Yeah, there you go. So when it's complete, you can see everything increases, just like Wardstone would. I'll let you play around with that more and move on from here. You can also change your summoner spells. At the moment, it doesn't really do anything. It'll show your cooldown change if you have Spell Haste, right? If we go over here and do Cosmic Insight, you can see Cosmic Insight decreases your flash by almost a whole minute. Pretty cool. And if you have Ignite, it'll also show your damage in the damage chart. And then lastly, you can show your, for damage anyway, you can show your Dragon Slayer buffs, right? I don't have Souls down at the moment because they're so niche and they have such different impacts, but the Dragon Slayer buffs actually give you direct buffs, right? So if you can see, we have 198 total AD here. We change it to Infernal. Now we have 204. And then the last thing you really need to be concerned about is your target, right? This is, the way I designed this is that this is the damage that you'll do. So to this target, you'll deal 306 damage on a Q with the items you have and the stats they have, right? And you can change this too. So basically what this does is it incorporates what level the target is and finds out what base stats that target would have. In this case, I have it set to be like an enemy Caitlyn. In the future, I might have a couple different options. But yeah, level 18 Caitlyn will have these base stats. And then if you want to change it, you don't want it to be Caitlyn, you can also just change that. By default, I have them having the armor rune, +6 armor there. You could change their bonus HP, which will change things like Liandry's damage amplifier, and their current HP, which will change things like Shadow Flame or Blade of the Rune King. And then also, you can change the target range. I don't know how useful this would be on Ezreal, but it'll affect things like Abyssal Mask or Sunfire Cape, right? So if you have Sunfire Cape equipped, and they're very close to you, it'll do damage. But if they're far away, it won't do any damage. So I have it tried to be as specific as possible so that you can get the information from this and apply it to your game as specifically as possible. Right? So, like, not every game target's going to have 0 magic resist, right? Look how much damage that takes away from your non-Q abilities when they have their intended magic resist. And so in those games, you might have maybe a Sunderer for the passive that gives you armor and magic resist, or penetration. Anyway, at this point, I'm mostly just talking out loud. So I'll let you play with the rest. I will let you know that there is support for First Strike and Riftmaker, true damage, but at the moment I don't really have it working properly for items. It might work for a couple items or other damage effects, but mostly right now it's just there for your basic abilities. Right, so we can change this to Riftmaker. You can also see how much extra true damage that'll do too, on top of each other. Right, but let's say you picked random things, right? This is the last thing. You picked random runes, and you want to go back. You picked random stacks on this, and you have a couple of these active, and you don't want your items there. You want to go back to the base? You just hit the stopwatch. Reset to default. It'll run the script, and everything will be set back to the way it was. So you can feel free to use this to discover the new Ezreal build. I hope you do. And if there is any issues, I really encourage you to reach out to me, Jaro, in the Ezreal Mains Discord. Also in the Swain Mains Discord, I've created the same thing for Swain. So if you're interested in that, let me know or find it on that server. Okay, but thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the damage simulator. There's one more thing I forgot. It's the most important part. It's how to use it yourself. You can't edit on this. Okay, so you have to go to File. You go to Make a Copy, and then just make your copy. It'll copy all the scripts and everything, and then you can edit your own page. So that's how you use it, okay?